In the 90s, the hip-hop world was dominated by only two men. The freakiest man alive, then known as Puff Daddy, and the heartless psychopath Suge Knight.
They was not scared of Suge Knight. They was terrified of Suge Knight.
Suge was the CEO of Death Row Records, and Diddy played the same role at Bad Boy Records. Suge's label represented the West Coast with artists like Pac, Snoop, and Dr. Dre, while Diddy's label represented the East Coast with none other than the notorious B.I.G. Nobody messed with these two. Nobody wanted to say anything out of line about Diddy's suspicious behavior because they didn't want to ruin their chance of becoming part of the Bad Boy empire. And nobody wanted to cross Suge because, well, they didn't want to end up thrown off a balcony like what almost happened to Vanilla Ice.
Suge took me out on the balcony, started talking to me personally. He had me look over the edge, show me how high I was up there.
You scared?
I needed to wear a diaper on that day. I was very scared.
These two guys were truly untouchable, until a 26-year-old white guy from Detroit entered the game and decided to break every single rule.
Hi, my name is Chicka Slim Shady.
He never kept any thought to himself, and from the very beginning, he went hard at everybody.
Whatever's on my mind, I'm gonna say it. If I'm thinking it, I'm gonna say it. I'm that type of person. I've always been that type of person.
He didn't care if you were a gangster or a Hollywood actor.
Will Smith got a cuss in his rap to sell records. Well, I do, so him and you too.
A lot of his jokes were just that, jokes. But the hatred he had towards Suge and Diddy was real, and there was a solid reason behind it: the deaths of his two biggest idols. M was convinced that Diddy was involved in what happened that night in 1996 in Las Vegas, and that Suge sent one of his men to take Biggie's life just a few months later in Los Angeles. And that's why, once he finally reached fame, he never stopped reminding the world what he thought about these two pathetic criminals. At first, Marshall had no interest in expressing his hatred towards Suge. He tried to ignore him and focus on his music career, but it got to a point where he couldn't avoid him anymore. The worst part is that it wasn't even personal. Suge didn't actually have anything against M. The person he truly hated was Dr. Dre for leaving Death Row. And what better way to hurt him than by going after the young artist who was making him millions? Eminem was dealing with harassment from Suge's goons simply because he was signed to Aftermath, Dre's label.
He was with Dr. Dre, because we didn't have no beef with Eminem. Suge actually liked Eminem, thought he was a hell of a rapper, funny, comedian.
M had inherited Dr. Dre's beef by signing with Dre.
The first confrontation between the two happened at the Source Awards in 1999, the same year Eminem released one of the most iconic albums in hip-hop history, the Slim Shady LP. Even though he was new to the rap scene, he was already making a lot of noise, and that's why he was invited to present the award for Live Performer of the Year, which ended up being won by DMX, but the tense moment wouldn't happen on stage, it happened in the crowd.
Who's the winner?
Where my dogs at?
As Eminem was walking to his seat, he was interrupted by several men with intimidating looks, who seemed to have been sent there to scare Dr. Dre's young star. At first, Big Nas, his bodyguard at the time, didn't understand what was happening. The artist he was protecting didn't even know these guys. It felt like the beef was completely one-sided.
M was cut off on his way to his seat, and all these guys in red shirts surrounded him. And I'm looking at M's face, and I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, something ain't right. And next thing I know, you see all these guys talking about Death Row, motherfucking Death Row. I was like, Death Row, what's it got to do with him? He said, hey man, Suge sent him a message. I was like, oh shit. We in the middle of this Dre and Suge shit.
And as if the threat hadn't been clear enough, Suge's goons followed them on their way out of the event.
We call it the limo. This is where it gets fucked up. Death Row is still sitting out there waiting for us. We trying to get to the seat of the crowd. We're coming out. The limo's pulling off. Death Row's behind us. So I'm like, shh. It was like, this motherfucker's trying to kill us, man. What they trying to do? What do they want? I don't understand. What do they want? I say, hey, man, they want you to sign with them instead of being with Dre. I told M, I said, man, whatever you do, paparazzi is out here. Do all the interviews that you can. I said, because these dudes are not going to do nothing to you while you're on camera.
Marshall wasn't scared by the situation. He was irritated and offended. He was angry because Suge was trying to convince him to leave Dre and sign with Death Row through violent threats. First of all, there was no way M was going to betray Dre. And second, he wasn't a coward. He wasn't going to give in to any threats.
Like, M is non-confrontational, but he from Detroit. He from Detroit, man. He's from 8 Mile, bro.
The downfall of Death Row Records by the end of the 90s was brutal. The terrible state of what used to be the most powerful label in rap was the result of its own creator and his chaotic way of running the business. Suge was a man who, through his own decisions, managed to sabotage himself and a label that had everything needed to keep growing. Founded in 1991 by Suge with the help of Dre, Death Row had some of the biggest names in hip-hop on its roster: Pac, Snoop, and his cousin Nate. Under this label, 3 of the most iconic albums in rap history were released: The Chronic, Doggy Style, and All Eyes on Me. The last one is considered by many to be the greatest project ever created in the genre. So how did Death Row fall from grace? Well, the collapse was slow and painful. Little by little, for different reasons, artists started leaving the label.
Dog knew it, I knew it, we all knew it. This is over.
I could have very easily have been in that car in Las Vegas, you know what I'm saying? So fortunately for me, I left at the time that I did.
Pac's death was a devastating blow to Suge's empire, but the damage didn't stop there, because his other biggest star decided to walk away. After Pac's death, Snoop wanted to end the beef with the East Coast, but Suge wanted nothing to do with that. He was completely against it. But the violence wasn't the only thing bothering the rapper. He was also tired of the way the CEO handled the money he was making.
All my cars was in Suge Knight name.
Wow.
Get pulled over, police. Oh yeah, Mr. Knight. Who? I'm not Mr. Knight.
Wow.
All my cars?
And that's how you found out?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The person who helped him escape that situation was Master P, the founder of No Limit Records. Snoop was more than happy to leave Death Row behind. The guy just wanted to feel safer and actually make some money.
Ain't no gang rules, ties, or none of that. It's just straight family. I love you. I'm with you. Love what you do. Down with you.
By this point, Suge was no longer the untouchable figure he used to be. He was just a powerless man, spending his days behind bars. Snoop didn't fear him anymore. To him, Death Row was nothing more than a chapter of his past.
Suge Knight recently said he used to be a superstar and now he's just a no-limit soldier. What do you say to that?
Nothing. He used to be a CEO, now he's just an inmate.
The first artist to jump off Suge's ship was Dre. And that's exactly why seeing him succeed years later, after discovering Eminem, made Suge hate him even more. He could never forgive Dre for leaving Death Row, so he decided to make his life a living hell, and Eminem had no choice but to deal with the consequences of his mentor's past decisions.
At the time when Dre was at the height of what he was doing in Aftermath, he just really was so focused on, fuck him.
The second incident happened that same year, but this time in Hawaii, where Dre and Snoop had organized a reunion party. The trip was supposed to be some kind of mini vacation, a chance to relax with their families and friends. But Suge, as always, had to ruin everything. The moment they stepped off the plane, 20 Honolulu police officers were already waiting for them to provide protection, because whatever was happening was clearly serious. As one of the officers said, "Death Row Records is here, and they're wreaking havoc." The officers had received a call from Jimmy Iovine, the guy who co-founded Interscope Records, warning them that Snoop was being harassed on the plane by men sent by Suge.
We just so happened to have been on the plane with Snoop and a few of his entourage. We were terrorizing Snoop. Snoop got spit on that plane, right? We was going there to make life uncomfortable for Dre and Snoop, because that's when they were back reuniting.
Despite all the security they had, Once they arrived in Hawaii, they ended up spending most of their time locked inside the hotel just to avoid any problems.
And they didn't even come out and play. They stayed locked up in the room the whole time.
Then, on the flight back to Los Angeles, Suge's people went directly to talk to Eminem. But this time, with a passive-aggressive tone, they invited him to make an album with one of their artists. Well, it was less of an invitation and more of a threat.
You're gonna do an album with one of our artists. You know, you're gonna do some work for us. You're gonna do something with us.
So you guys wanted to work with Eminem?
We're just doing it as a harassment tactic. It'll make you want to distance yourself from being with Dre. If every time you go around, or it's a problem, you be starting like, hey Dre, I can't deal with it. That's all it was about then.
M was already tired of Death Row's thugs. He was honestly waiting for the next time they crossed paths, because he wanted to show them one thing: they weren't going to mess with him anymore. And that opportunity finally came during the filming of 50 Cent's Into Club music video. Suge, fresh out of jail, showed up to the set with a group of Latinos who looked like they were ready for war.
So Suge came, he had some Mexican niggas. Now we from New York. You ain't never seen a nigga with a tattoo on his forehead. 118th Street crew. I'm like, what the f? Nigga got a tattoo on his face, homie.
Everyone there that day was terrified. People were running and hiding, worried about what Suge and his men might do.
He showed up to the In the Club video shoot. He came, it was like, Suge's outside, Suge's outside. Everybody like, he was running, dropping, like, man, everybody going, I'm in front of the camera like this.
Everyone was scared, except the blonde-haired white guy. He was ready to do whatever needed to be done.
Eminem came outside 100%. I was bugging because I seen, this is when I knew Eminem was real. He's like, I don't give a f***, man. This is when I knew, I'm like, damn, Eminem is a real nigga. These niggas.
Suge couldn't understand how Eminem wasn't intimidated by him. This was the third time he had tried, and the third time he failed. So he decided to leave them alone. He turned around and walked away.
And Suge looked at him, and he took a puff of his cigar, and he blew it out, and he did like this, and he left.
Suge denied that Eminem confronted him that day, probably because he was embarrassed by what happened.
Eminem checking me, that's a laughing matter. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Keep in mind, this was Suge Knight we're talking about, the most feared man in the rap industry during the 90s. He was always surrounded by gangsters, intimidating anyone who dared to stand in his way. His name was constantly connected to controversy. He was involved in countless scandals, and some people even accused him of being responsible for the death of Eazy-E.
That nigga Suge Knight was a cold gangster.
Yo, Rob. To Suge, Eminem was just a small white guy. Looks can be deceiving. Eminem wasn't someone who backed down. This wasn't some sheltered kid who had never experienced real struggle. He was born in Missouri, but he grew up in and around Detroit in some of the area's toughest neighborhoods. He was raised by an abusive mother struggling with a pill addiction, and he grew up without a father figure to guide him.
His dad never wanted anything to do with him. Marshall tried to contact him. Debbie tried to contact him.
He was beaten up in his neighborhood and bullied at school. He even turned those experiences into music with the song Brain Damage, where he talks about the time a boy named D'Angelo Bailey caused him a traumatic brain injury.
Waiting for my baby daughter Haley. What? I was harassed daily by this fat kid named D'Angelo Bailey.
The world rejected him, and even at home, he couldn't find peace. When his uncle Ronnie, the person who introduced him to hip-hop, decided to take his own life, his mother, instead of comforting him, told him that she wished he had died instead of his uncle.
Remember when Ronnie died and you said you wished it was me?
That was the environment Eminem grew up in, and things would take a long time before they got better. Today, we see many artists achieve fame before they even turn 20, but for M, the journey was completely different. At 23 years old, he had his daughter Haley, but he had no idea how he was going to support her. He couldn't find a stable job, and his career as a rapper looked like it was going nowhere.
Full of venom and rage, especially when I'm engaged and my daughter's down to her last diaper.
You're the only white guy that knows what it's like to be a nigga.
Not sure how to answer that.
During all those years of darkness, Pac and Biggie, were two artists who brought color into his world. When I was feeling at my worst, before fame, before Dre, I knew I could put that Pac tape in, and suddenly things weren't so bad. He gave me the courage to stand up and say, fuck the world. This is who I am, and if you don't like it, go fuck yourself. When Pac died, Eminem started to hate Suge, because he believed Suge took advantage of Pac's hatred toward Bad Boy Records to bring him into death row, where he surrounded him with Bloods. And in M's eyes, that toxic environment was what pushed Pac into the violent lifestyle that eventually led to his death. He was also convinced that Suge had ordered a hit on Biggie. Eminem hated Suge, but he never directly went after him. In the song Toy Soldiers, he explained that he ignored him because Dre asked him to.
I went through my whole career without ever mentioning.
Years later, a song called Smack You leaked, where he went after Suge and blamed him for the deaths of Pac and Biggie.
I'm holding Suge responsible for the deaths of the two greatest rappers to ever grace the face of this planet.
I don't like Suge at all, but he was right about one thing. The posthumous Pac album produced by Eminem was terrible. That album was horrible.
There was only one Tupac project that ever flopped before, and that's the one Eminem did on unreleased. All the rest of them were successful.
Before Pac's death, M was a huge fan of Death Row, and that's one of the reasons he had absolutely no respect for Diddy. In fact, he even dissed him on an unreleased track from 1996, the same year Pac released Hit 'Em Up.
Original bad boy on the case, covered your face, came into place, blowed and sprayed Puffy with mace.
Even though Diddy was an extremely successful and powerful figure, M never wanted to get close to him. He never wanted to associate himself with him.
I had never made a call to Diddy, really? Yeah. I got Diddy's number, just hit him up. Yo, Diddy, what up? Never happened.
He wasn't interested in hanging out with Diddy, but he definitely enjoyed taking shots at him in his songs.
Is it because you love me that y'all expect so much of me? You little groupie, get off me, go Puffy.
He also mentioned people from his inner circle, like when he talked about his love for J-Lo, who was Diddy's girlfriend at the time.
Cause if I ever stuck into any singer in showbiz, it'd be Jennifer Lopez, and Puffy, you know this.
But what he said next is probably one of the most twisted and disrespectful things Eminem has ever said in his career. Go ahead and pause the video if you want to read it. Anyway, we're talking about early Eminem. These kinds of bars were normal for him back then. Despite how brutally M went after Diddy, he never responded. Remember, during those years, Eminem was feared by everyone when it came to rapping. Today, a lot of younger fans say he's washed, that he's corny, and that he keeps repeating himself. But in the 2000s, man, nobody wanted to start a beef with Eminem. Diddy wasn't stupid like MGK. Just like Suge was jealous of Dre for having Eminem on his label, Diddy couldn't stand the fact that 50 Cent had signed with Shady Records. After watching Get Rich or Die Trying sell millions of copies, he regretted every single day not signing 50 because of the issues he had with Ja Rule. And as if that wasn't enough, he had to hand Eminem the Grammy for Best Rap Album in 2003 for The Eminem Show.
And the winner is Eminem, The Eminem Show.
Diddy was clearly frustrated. In the 2015 documentary Murder Rap, a former LAPD officer explained that after years of investigation, they reached the conclusion that Diddy paid $1 million to Keffe D to have Pac killed that night. The same night Keffe D's nephew, Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, had been jumped by Pac and his friends in Las Vegas.
I told you you can't trust these niggas. Now Puffy done killed Tupac, man.
To be fair, 50 was never a fan of Diddy, so any bad news about him was something 50 was always going to use against him.
He said something to me one time, a long time ago, at Chris Lighty's wedding. He told me he'd take me shopping. I looked at him like, what'd you just say? Let me move, man, before I do something. You gonna make me mess up the wedding.
Oh, that's a nice gesture.
Let me get out of it. No, dude, take me. That's what a guy says to a girl.
You asked him to take him shopping?
Yeah, I thought he needed some clothes. What? I'm a nice guy.
M used this theory about Pac's death to take a shot at Diddy at the end of Kill Shot. the song where he completely destroys MGK, a Bad Boy Records artist.
The day you put out a hit, the day Diddy admits that he put the hit out, they got Pac killed, ah?
But then he says he was just joking, referencing the endings of some of his other tracks.
Oh, and I'm just playing, Diddy. You know I love you. I'm just playing, ladies. You know I love you. I'm just playing, America. You know I love you.
He claimed he was joking, maybe because, at that moment, he wasn't fully convinced that Diddy was actually responsible for Pac's death. Diddy didn't hate Pac. Actually, Diddy was influenced by Pac because deep down, he wanted to be him. Or maybe he had a crush on him at this point, who knows? That's why he hated being connected to Pac's death.
Now, it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking.
All right.
Thank you.
Eminem finally felt free to bring out the heavy artillery on the death of Slim Shady after watching Diddy's reputation collapse following multiple accusations from several women, including Cassie, the woman who had been by his side for 11 years. A video of him being extremely violent toward her inside a hotel was even leaked.
But on the real though, she probably ran out the room with a dildo.
People started speaking out, and the so-called Diddy parties became infamous because of what was happening behind closed doors.
It sounds like something that Puff would do at a party with Aaron Hall, cause I just love to with you.
The crazy thing is that at the same time, Keefe D was arrested after incriminating himself in multiple interviews where he talked about what happened that night in Las Vegas. The mystery surrounding who was behind Pac's death seemed to finally be getting closer to an answer, and M wasn't going to stay silent. Rest in peace, Biggie and Pac. Both of y'all should be living.
But I ain't trying to beef with him, cause he might put a hit on me like Keefe D. Get him.
But out of every shot he takes at Diddy on this album, this one is easily the best. It's a direct shot, but at the same time, it's a clever piece of wordplay. That's exactly the kind of line Eminem has always been known for. After 50 Cent produced a documentary that damaged Diddy's reputation even further, Diddy responded by sending him funeral flowers. That was Diddy declaring war on 50, and I think it's pretty obvious which side Marshall Mathers is on.